ain't worried. I know I'm going to heaven.
Eternal damnation. Eternal damnation. Eternal damnation.
You're at the end of the world as you know it, my dude. Time is up and you out of mood, so what will you do? It's the BP mercenaries not here to save the day. My friend, it's hell to pay. Don't let me catch you round the way. A box you cut you into squares, no shades of gray. The fire and brimstone seeping through the brim with a spray.
Hey guys, welcome to the lab. We're back with some more exclusive content. Michael, aka Seamus the Skunk, has decided to join us in the lab today. How you doing, Michael?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Glad to get you in the lab. Long time coming. Been following your art for a little while now, so
Yep.
glad you can kind of come and hang out and allow people to kind of get to know you a little bit better on a different platform. And yeah, let's get into it. So. First things first, can you share a little bit about your journey on kind of how you got started in the world of like digital art? Like, how did you become like a graphic artist, and where did you get your start?
Yeah, it was very circuitous. I actually started about 10 years ago. Started having some neurological difficulties, and I actually lost a lot of my fine motor control in my hands. And so I was working regular workaday job, call center type stuff, and finally became a liability where I was passing out, and they just wouldn't let me come into work anymore. So I became disabled and was staying at home, and at the same time, we finally adopted our son. And I was very fortunate to be a stay-at-home dad. So one of the things that we did right away when he was probably 2 or 3 is he wanted to draw with sidewalk chalk. So we went outside, and although I couldn't hold the like small pens or pencils, I would drop them a lot. Those big, thick sidewalk chalk, I was fine with. And if I messed it up, it wasn't a big deal. I could smooth it out with my hand. So that went pretty well for about a year or so, and then the neighbor was like, "You've got to figure out a way to get this sidewalk art," because we were out there for 3-4 hours every single morning.
Oh wow!
Everyone in the neighborhood saw all of our work, and they'd stop by every day to see it. So I ended up actually writing a children's book. About how we got our son, about the adoption process and all that. And in order to do so, to get my actual work, the illustrations into a digital format was an absolute nightmare. I didn't know what I was doing. I was using MS Paint to do that.
Damn.
Yeah, so that was an absolute nightmare. But then I asked a friend of mine who owns a tattoo shop, when I went in for some work, how do your artists do it? Because now they draw on the iPads and send it straight to the stencil printer.
Yeah.
And it's ready to go. I said, well, how'd you do that? And he said, well, there's this program on iPad called Procreate. It's really pretty intuitive. It's like, so put in the investment and get the Apple Pencil and go from there. So I did that, and it took a couple of years to really train my hand again to be able to handle the pencil. But I started submitting shirts and really got into the shirt world and just just learning how to use digital art, and started following a few of the guys there, like COD Designs, Obvien and Italu, and there was one shirt guy that I was watching all the time that was Wheels03, and I saw he had submitted a hat to Clink that was he had done a college prep shirt that was the Wampas from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
and he did it kind of like just the head logo on his hat, and Clink accepted it, but they had to change the name, so it became Getty University. So I talked to him and said, I've always wanted to learn how to make a hat. I'm kind of burnt out on the shirts. What do we do? And he said, well, just go to the Clink Room and download the submission pack and go from there. And that was it. So I started about 2 years ago making some logos for Clink, and by that time I had figured out how to use Procreate and how to do digital art to what I wanted to do to make it look like how I wanted it to look. But I didn't understand how to make it embroidery friendly, and I really didn't understand how to make it look like something that someone wants to wear on their hat. So I ended up catching a couple of episodes of Monday Evening Crits, and the guys happened to be critiquing the first submission that I had for Yolama So Ugly.
Yolama, yeah.
And I took their advice to heart, and Aaron, House Head Fitted, he had some great feedback for me, thickening the lines and that kind of thing. And it's just kind of rolled from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Those Monday Evening Crits guys, I mean, you're part of the show pretty much. You're a mainstay now.
Yeah.
The good thing about Donnie and the bad thing about Donnie is there's no filters. You're getting the raw, and you know, sometimes that can hurt him, and sometimes it's great, because if you are an artist that can take the criticism and you know, I'm gonna say though, he's always has good intention no matter what. Behind everything, he just wants to see everyone do better. And you know, sometimes you might need to work in a compliment sandwich sometimes, but you know, at the end of the day, the content is there. So if you're an artist and you want to get better, the way you guys critique stuff is very good. It's very next level. So I always kind of watch you guys from afar. I try not to watch you guys too much, because I don't want what you say and what the rest of the guys say to kind of seep into what I say.
Sure.
So I try to watch your stuff after I've already filmed it, so that way it's a little bit more fair. But yeah, you guys have a great format. I just watched the Clinkies episode while I was kind of falling asleep yesterday, but yeah, you guys do a great job over there.
Thank you.
In terms of your artistic style, like what other artists do you look at as a potential influence to you, other than the guys you've already named? So COD, Italics, and Avian are pretty good examples, I would say.
Yeah. You know, I actually still look at a lot of the shirt guys for kind of inspiration to hone my skill. Neiman's clothing, he just recently submitted a Clink hat for the first time. Really strong designer. I've never heard them pronounced, so I'm sure I'm going to butcher some of them, but D.A. Obi-Wan.
Okay.
He's incredible. I aspire to be as good as him someday. I don't know that I'm going to get there, but he's something else. Zep, I know I'm going to butcher this name. Zasquinata, I think. I've secretly thought of my own as my biggest rival for the last probably 4 or 5 years that I was doing shirts.
Okay.
I had started to try and kind of become a guy, you know, the guy that does this style or this style, and I really wanted to be the guy that handled all the classic art. So I was doing a lot of Rockefeller, and I was doing a lot of Edward Hopper, and you know, realism stuff from the Depression era. I was doing a lot of that, and shortly after I started doing it, Zasquinata did it as well, and he did it so much better than I could. It was just infuriating. But he's still cranking out 4 or 5 shirts a week, and I still kind of try and he has a way of adding depth with just black.
Yeah.
Without like cross hatching or anything. His designs are very dark, but isn't really from traditional shadowing, and it's not from cross hatching or anything like that. He just seems to know where to place black.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, ironically, I very rarely use black.
Yeah. You're kind of being known as that guy.
Yeah, and that's
nah.
that's one of the things I'm getting to be known for. So I'll take it. Sure.
Yeah.
I have never done well taking being limited to 6 colors. That's kind of the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid black or all white, optic white, just because I don't want to be limited to having to use those.
Yeah. You kind of throw color away, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Cool.
Exactly.
So, in terms of your artist persona, so Seamus the Skunk, what significance does that character hold for you? And kind of where did you get that? Where that name come from, basically?
That's a good question. So my son is Seamus.
Okay.
And the children's book that I mentioned earlier is the main character is Seamus the Skunk. So my artist name used to be Seamus Aran, which was a play on the old Metroid characters, Samus Aran.
Okay.
But when I went to self-publish this book, I didn't want to have to set up 2 websites and 2 links and all that. So I just said, forget it. Let's just change everything over to Seamus the Skunk. So it is really personal for me because it's my son.
Yeah.
And he's really involved in a lot of my artwork. He's 10, but he still tries to emulate me all the time. I want to say he was 6, and he was already asking for his first iPad to sit down and draw with me. And he was going through just reams of paper, just doodling and drawing all the time.
Yeah.
So when I needed to upgrade my iPad to this one, I gave him my last one and my last Apple Pencil, and when we sat down in 2 hours, he had figured out how to use Procreate enough to, he does his own stuff. He's designed a couple of shirts that I've published under his name.
Right.
And we have one in the shop right now that was all him. I just polished it for him, and that's the America.
Yeah. The first Cash Cow was based off his sketch, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No. That
okay.
Cash Cow was I done a couple of origami pieces, Paper Tiger, and I did a Kong that was origami, and Gemini saw it and said, "Man, this is just begging to look like a dollar bill folded. Can you knock that out?" Hell yeah, I can.
Yeah.
So I just went with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys killed that. I still punch myself because in my old job, forever I had an origami folded into like a dress shirt and tie.
Oh, okay.
Like an actual one. I forced my friend's girlfriend at the time, now wife, shout out Joanne, to make it for me. I saw it online somewhere. I'm like, hey, can you make this for me? Follow it because you have more delicate fingers than I. And she did, and it was like my good luck charm on my computer screen. So I taped it up to the corner of my screen, and it was there for the whole time. And I had talked to Tony, my business partner at the Capologist, to do something like that, and it never worked out in the timing and whatever. Sometimes stuff falls between the cracks and whatever.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the Cash Cow, I was like, "Fuck, you guys beat me to it." So that's always going to be one that's like the one that got away, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
But because it was definitely an image that I looked at every day for like 5 years. And it was something that, because like how it is. I mean, you come from the t-shirt world. Not everything's going to translate right for the hat as the canvas because it's shaped so differently than a t-shirt. A t-shirt, you get a whole piece of cloth or fabric or whatever. You can go small, you can go centered, you can go front, middle, whatever. But for the hat, there's only so much you can really do between the 3 to 6 inches that you're given. So really like tailoring down the details and
it's a challenge.
It is.
For you, like, can you walk us through your typical creative process? Like one thing is you have elite pun game, so I think are you thinking of the concept first, or are you coming up with a name later? Like how do you like walk me through your process? What do you do?
I've never really thought about how it works. It sometimes it just comes from the name. I'm a very dad joke kind of dad.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of the puns come from, are either bad jokes I'm telling my son or jokes that he's telling me.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's just a matter of, this is going to be really cool, and I'll just have to figure out the name some other time. That doesn't always seem to matter. Man, I've never really thought about, how does the horse before the cart or what?
Yeah, because I'm definitely name last, because that's the part I absolutely dread. I hate it. I'll make a whole slew of hats. I can mock up. I can conceptualize. I'm less of the artist part. I'm more on the concept side. Like I can direct and figure out the colors, the threads, the fabrics, all that stuff. The photography, the commercials. But then it's like, what the hell do I call this? Like I don't even know. Like that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah, making shirts, it was almost always the last thing. But with hats, I think it really comes down to where did the actual source come from. So if it's something I came up on my own, it's something I heard. Eye candy, for example. That was right around Halloween. My wife was going through bad pun costumes. 2 years ago, she was a social butterfly, so she had a tutu and butterfly wings, and then she had the icons for like Twitter, now X, and Facebook and all that, just pinned all over her. So she was a social butterfly. She saw eye candy, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew exactly how I wanted it to look, and I just went to work on that one. Apocalypse happened the same way. Donnie messaged me and said, "Hey, I really like the way you drew your llama for your llama. I've got a couple of puns that I think you could draw in your style. I think you could do it a way that I'd like." What's the name? And he said Apocalypse, and bam, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with that.
That's awesome.
That one went really well. Llama Stay I actually saw in my head before Apocalypse. So some of the other ones, it's like the collaborations are usually someone has an idea, and it really depends on who I'm collaborating with, of how fleshed out the idea is. Some have just been a name, and that's all I needed. Sometimes I really need them to kind of tell me, well, what is it that you're actually thinking of? Like Rage Runner, Dick had a Road Runner, really swole. Maybe he's on steroids, and he wanted to call it Roy Runner, which just couldn't go through legal, so they changed the name. That's fine.
He was very, very upset, it seems, when the name got changed. But I mean, sometimes you gotta know how to play the game.
Yeah, I figured that probably was going to get changed, and the name's a name. It doesn't usually make a whole lot of difference.
Yeah.
So that one I had to sit down and say, well, are you thinking of a road runner that's really thick legs and he's just running really fast, or are you thinking of one like lying on the leg machine and he's got like 300 pounds that he's pressing? Oh no, let's do something where he's running really fast. All right. But it's most of the time it's I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do right when I start. Most of the ideas don't really develop or change as they're going on.
Nice.
So I always sit down and start with a 3x4 canvas. So I know I can't go any taller and I can't go any wider. And that way I know what's going to fit on the hat. And sit down and pick my 6 colors that I want to use for it right off the bat. And you had actually asked, I think it was the show that you had when Flanagan was on, and the zombie Lamageddon was up there, and you guys were laughing. You wonder if I sit down with like 50 sheets of glass and just have those images that stack up. It's kind of what I do.
Okay.
So I will I'll do a part of the design over and over and over again until my hand does what I want it to do and it actually looks the way that I want it to be. And as soon as that part is done, and I'm not going to adjust it anymore, I lock that layer and I start a new layer. So the end of the design is 40 or 50 layers all stacked on top of each other. And I try and keep it that way when I send it over to Clink so they can see exactly where my thinking is going to be raised, where is it not going to be raised.
That's crazy. So you do, okay. So it's almost like panes of glass that you're.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what, because when I was looking at it, I was like, I don't know how you could keep this straight. Like, even, or how would someone even draw this without having to do something like that?
Yeah.
I'm picturing a screen.
Without having individual layers, a lot of it would never happen. Yeah. And I don't really talk about my disability much, but it slows me down to about, let's say 10% as fast as anyone else. So I usually have to draw every line, draw, erase, draw, erase, draw, erase, until I just happen to get it just the exact right way, probably 10 times for every line you see on the design.
Oh, wow.
So if I couldn't save it exactly as it was and not affect it with anything I'm doing farther on, none of this would ever work.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. What are some of the things you do to kind of keep yourself inspired, creatively? Like, some people draw a lot from sports. Some people, from everyday stuff, or even just like watching shows. Like, where are some of your inspirations typically coming from?
I do watch a lot of TV.
Okay.
Adult animated shows like Bob's. I'm a huge Bob's Burgers fan.
Nice.
But a lot of it is just kind of listening to just what's going on around the house, and I just hear the kid is incredibly intelligent, but my kid is crazy. I mean, he's just absolutely insane. You sit down with a conversation with this kid, he could make Cthulhu crazy. You generally walk away with a headache after listening to him for about half an hour. It's just, he's on another level. So I'll pull a lot of pieces here and there out of there. Just the crazy rants that he's on. But the hats, I want to say, I try and pay attention to what's kind of trending in like the New Era Shop or Hat Club or Lids HD. So like the cascading effect, that's pretty popular right now, and I've been watching it for a while and really wanted to do one, and finally had the opportunity to sit down and do a couple of them. I'm working in a lot of negative space right now. Trying really hard I always wanted to do some of these crazy optical illusions, and finally just had a free moment to just try my hand at it, and it's working out pretty well. But I don't know how much longer the ideas are going to keep going for that. So it just shifts a lot.
I can say though, your work with Donnie on the copycats is actually a practical use of Cascade, whereas the regular Cascade to me never really made much sense. Like Boston.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, like whatever. But like to watch that kind of progression with the art from first submission to your second crack at it, like that's actually like cool. Like to me that that makes sense.
I was real happy with that. It's funny you mentioned copycat, because that's just one of those things that it sounded good in my head. It really did.
Mhm.
It really made sense. You see college sports in high schools across the country, Bobcats and Wildcats. I mean, they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
But they haven't really been done in Clink, and they aren't really done a whole lot in licensed stuff. So we had the pun, the copycat in our heads already, and we were trying to decide on what cat to do. And so we went with the Bobcat since it wasn't really used a lot. But the whole reason for it was for that bob tail to give us a much simpler edge to work with instead of having to try and work all of it around a long tail like on a panther or something.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, I wish I could say that one was going to get another shot, but I've heard from Casey on that, and he's not entirely convinced the cascading thing is going to translate well. So we're probably not going to see Copycat again. But that happens.
There's other means to get that work out there, but
and I've already started another one. Now that I see how that can be used for like a speed effect. We'll see it again.
That's cool. Do you find it hard to rank your creations, or is it always just in and on to the next one?
Well, I think just about everybody has their favorites that they're really passionate about. And this is going to get made one way or another. I'm going to keep on hammering away on this thing. Now I can't remember who was doing it. I want to say it was Josh Bowles was doing. It may not have been him, but somebody was doing a geisha holding a fan that they were trying to have an Oni mask on.
Yeah,
and I saw it in crits. I mean, I've only been following Clink and following the Monday morning crits for I want to say about 18 months, and I saw it in crits like 3 times, and he just keeps on submitting it. I think he's kind of let it give up the ghost at this point. But there are some of those that they really mean a lot to you, and you're convinced it's a good idea, and you're just gonna make it happen. Blood Moon was one of those. I really wanted that one to get paid, so I kept on going at it. But once it's submitted, you kind of have to have a quarterback interception mentality. It's gone. That's not going to happen again, and just it's a new down. That's pretty much how I have to approach it. Is just forget about everything that I've done so far. It's a completely new design. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about the stuff in production? Like if I were to offer you some sort of magic pill and you can make one of those show up on like tomorrow, like do you have one that I can't wait to see?
I was really, really hoping to see Apocalypse in hand before I came on the show. I was really hoping.
Okay.
I'm glad to see that's hitting homes, and I've seen a few photos of it. That is just, it is something else. That was lightning in a bottle. I'm still blown away seeing the embroidery work on it. But for aside from that, so anything out there that if I could have it in hand right this second, it'd have to be the newest negative space one that we had in that Brandon. He went by B Dork, and now he's changed his moniker to Rusty Bees.
Okay.
The space between. So it was the 2 winged statue figures facing each other and had the skull in the center. Yeah. So I've Clink is it didn't quite translate in the voting. The voting was crazy that week. And even Casey was like, I don't know what was going on that week. Everything was upside down. But they asked for the art files, so we'll see it get made here eventually. But I can't wait to see what they can do with their skill of embroidery and layering, and I can't wait to see that one. That's going to be another really special one.
Yeah, that is one, and I can speak from experience. That is one thing that Clink does have an advantage of. So for most normal custom accounts, you submit it, and they digitize it how they feel like they want to do it. So you can play a game of chicken and say, like, I'm not accepting this, do it again. And I've had stuff sit for 6 months. Like, we're not doing it again. Like, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So Casey does have a unique position, having done so many and ordered so many, that he can say, like, no, this is not going to fly. Do it again.
Yeah.
So he's honestly, like, I'm not saying that just to say it, but it's one of a kind, that relationship he has. Because there's times where
absolutely
I've gone to bat, like, it was like a zebra. I was working for my friend's band. It's called the Zebra and the Bandit, and New Era, for whatever reason, didn't digitize the zebra to look right. I'm like, it's the Zebra and the Bandit. If you get the zebra fucked up, there's no rest of the hat. We're not doing this. So we had played a game of chicken with them for about 6 months, and it didn't go anywhere. Like, hey, could you redigitize it? And they're looking like, no, like, this is the file you got. So really getting a chance to work with Casey and having him kind of art direct them on a different level that's like, you can't put a price on that. Like,
no, absolutely not. It's I've seen a lot of custom hats coming from a lot of places. Capologist has. I snagged the samurai that just popped up today.
I saw that on the order form.
And
Appreciate that.
The ramen. That's still one of my favorite hats. I wear that every time I go out to any Asian restaurant. Thai, whatever. I throw that one on every time we go. But Case just seems to have, and the whole Clink crew seem to have some innate ability to see
texture,
what is going to layer, that just doesn't come through. You just can't do on a 2D image. You can't see that. So it's been, I've been very lucky to this was the first place that I found when I wanted to start making custom hats. Because it very easily could have been done very badly on some of these.
I always knew he was good, but when I figured out that they were next level, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this team, but the Gwinnett Stripers, they have like a open mouth bass logo. And if you have that hand in hand, take a look at that thing, because that thing is built like a freaking sculpture. Like there's 2D, 3D. I feel like that thing is 6D. The way it's layered, and there's textures on it, and there's the mouth behind the thing. It's insane. So when I saw that and then tied that back, I was like, oh, Casey, you did that? I was like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what the hell you did on that, but that shit, no wonder you guys get, the work you get. Because that thing, I don't know, and that's not something you notice until you have it in hand. And you're like, wow.
Like Spitfire. I slept on that one. I was like, well, yeah, it's kind of cool, but I just wasn't seeing it. This first time I saw it, when it hit Instaship, I had to race for that one. That was incredible. But I know the bass logo you're talking about. I haven't actually picked one up because it seems like all of the new drops now include Realtree from in one form or another, under, brim, crown, whatever. And I was in the Marines. I wore enough camo for a lifetime. I don't buy Realtree hats.
Fair enough. It's definitely a cool one. Do you have any aspiring? Do you have any advice for any aspiring digital artists that are looking to kind of break into this world?
This community is unlike any other community in the art world. I've never felt more accepted, where everybody generally wants to see everyone succeed, just to see the best possible product come out. So there's a whole lot of ego check at the door. You know, if you think you have an idea or anything, don't just sit on the idea and just wonder what could have been. If you have a really good idea on it and aren't sure where to start from, reach out to some of the designers that you respect or that you like their work. I reached out to Wynn and to Flanagan when I just couldn't break through, and some of these new folks do kind of get on my skin a little bit when they have submitted 2 or 3 and they're like, man, I can't seem to break through. So I was submitting for 8 months before I first saw my first crayons. So, you know, calm down there. But absolutely reach out to any of the creators that you really respect or want to emulate. I haven't found anybody that just will ignore you flat out. Everybody is pretty friendly. So that's probably your best way to start off, is just to talk to them and say, you know, what do I need to do? What are these key things that I need to do to really start off fresh? So you don't make the mistake of pencil thin lines and gradients and 12 colors and all those kind of rules that we all follow that aren't really written down anywhere.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for some of the potential concept artists out there? So I see you have a bunch of collaborations. So like what are some of the things that they could do to, you know, approach artists properly? Because I know as an artist, you guys hold a little bit more of the power, because to me, without the artist, there's no there's no hat.
I'd like to think that I'm a little unique in that sense, is I'm willing to hear anybody out. And I have heard from a number of the concept guys that, hey, I've been messaging so-and-so forever and they're always too busy or they never get back to me on that. So I'm always willing to give anyone one shot. You know, maybe we won't continue to work together, but I think that the best advice that I have for the concept guys is you want to have a whole fleshed out idea. The first couple of ideas that were pitched to me were just a name, and they didn't have the slightest idea of how to execute it or what they wanted to see on the hat. They're like, I just thought it was a funny pun. Okay, that doesn't help me. You know, one big kind of rule of thumb that I don't think people really look at enough is don't pitch someone an idea that is kind of piggybacking on something they've already done. I had a lot of pitches after Alpocalypse hit the shop that were essentially the same thing. I was like, what do I need that for? You know?
Yeah.
And probably the one that not enough people actually look at is it certainly behooves you to go to the Clink Room website and look at the it'd be nice if there was just a gallery, so you want to click on the production tracker and it goes through every hat they've made since 2.0 launched. And if you have an idea, it doesn't hurt to at least put it in the search engine and see if it's already been done. You know, if it's been done
search
last year,
pretty good.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, that search feature is pretty good. I find myself using it for random things too, like just putting in random keywords, and it's pretty good at popping up old stuff. Yeah. And when you really break it down, it's got to be over 1,000 styles by now.
Oh yeah, it's right up there. And I right now the only thing I really use it for is, I don't have a whole lot of solo ideas working right now, just because I have a laundry list of collabs going. but I do always go and make sure that that actual name hasn't already been done already. But also, the color swatches, they just don't really represent the fabric colors on some of them really well. So if you just put in the fabric color itself into that search engine, it'll bring up every hat. So I can't remember the name of the fabric that they ended up making the colorway for eye candy on, but it looked really aqua to me. So I put that one in there, and there's a surprising number of hats that are already in production, like Killer Bees is on the same color.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool too.
So
yeah,
if you can't picture it, if it's already been made, they've got the live photo on there, and it's a much more realistic depiction of the color.
If you're doing the reverse search, so if you're taking the fabric and you're just searching in Google with 5950, most stores won't change the fabric name. So if you're worried about like what sky blue looks like or cerulean blue or whatever, you just punch it in with 5950, and for the most part you'll see a live version of that hat too. So it'll probably be either a blank or an MLB hat or whatever, but at least you can get an idea for what the fabric is in person. So but yeah,
they're
cool.
usually pretty about that. Yeah, sometimes they have kind of weird lighting on those, but you're right. For the most part, they're pretty true to it. I think that the most recent one I had to look up was Everest green. It's that new, it's really close to gray, and it's been popping up quite a bit lately.
Yeah, that's the color that you added for the All-Star game. But so in some instances it looks like a mint. Sometimes it looks like a faded blue. Sometimes it looks like a gray. But for the most part, it's like a really faded green, I would say.
Yeah.
But all right,
it seems to depend on what color the logo is, or the brim is, how it counteracts there.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a reflection, a little bit at least. If you go like navy, it darkens the rest of it. But if you go full Everest, then it looks completely faded. But yeah, for sure.
I bet.
The visor does affect it. But awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing that. Let's break down and get into the fun stuff for what you came to do. So first things first, Clink had one of their biggest, to me, one of their biggest and most important Instaship drops. So let's get your opinion on this. The room seems pretty split between I like side patches and kill me, I hate side patches. So which side of the argument do you fall under?
I really don't care either way. If it's done well, I like side patches. There's and not to say that they did a bad job or anything, but Snapback God, he did a White Sox hat that was scarlet and pine. It was a throwback to the Bulls Sonics matchups.
Yep.
And the 95-year anniversary side patch on that thing is enormous.
Yes.
I mean, it is almost to the top of the crown, and it's actually uncomfortable wearing, but it's still one of my favorites, so I wear it all the time. So if the side patch is done well, I like them, but in this group, there's a side patch that I bought the hat just for the side patch.
Okay.
And I think that's a first.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever done that for a hat before.
Yeah. I just think it's like such a seismic shift. I mean, the original 150s had like a built-in pencil. I don't consider that to be a side patch.
Those are cool. Yeah.
I don't consider that to be a side patch, but that was definitely something that really adds to the flavor of the hat. And then we started off with the bestsellers. So we didn't see any side patches in person, but we saw them on like repops, recolors, and then I believe the shock drops were probably some of the first side patches we saw. But like this is like the first pack we saw that actually was built for the specific design of the hat. So I believe the artist is Sarah Sexton, who worked on the majority of these things. I think she did a great job, kind of capturing the essence of the design.
Agreed.
I think it was just
Yep.
easier for Casey just to get one artist on it than to get multiple artists, I think. So
I
I think
think you're right. I'm pretty sure she's the one that's done all of them. He had mentioned that in I don't remember where I saw the interview, but he had mentioned her, and I've been wondering where she went. She did the Killer Sunset, and that just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
So she's been working crazy hard on these size patches, and she's really cranked them out. So
yeah. So let's take a look at each one. So I have individual slides. So the first three, Murder Hornets, which is pretty much all sold out except for I think a 7 and 1/8. Ray Gun by Full Count Studios, Dan and Joel. Haven't seen him around too much. It was one of the earlier 2.0s that I feel like constantly was doing work. Not as active currently. Like to see him come back. And then one of my personal favorites ever by Aaron, the Catalina Flying Fish. Do you have any initial thoughts on these?
I saw the preview. Saw just a short clip with the preview of the Murder Hornets, and it was kind of weird lighting. I thought the crown was like a dark orange, and the brim looked like a walnut or something. And I thought the logo was copper. So I'm glad to see it in the colors that it's in. It was just some really funky lighting, I guess. But that was a great one. That's actually another one that I know. Brandon Rusty Bees, he bought that hat just for the side patch alone.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that one kind of hit close to home for him. So he's really into bees and that kind of thing. But it was just an incredible logo, and I had just been saying, man, I really wish I could track one of these down. And then, bam, here comes the shock drop. I was like, whoo, great hat. I love it. And the side patch was really well done. So.
Yeah, for me, Catalina, just the way that they did the translucent wing with it's pink behind the red part, but not behind the other parts. Like that one, to me, is an all-time Clink logo. Aaron Bird killed that, and it's based off like a place that the Chicago Cubs used to go in spring training, Catalina Island, and then it's known for flying. For like just all in all, I love it. I know
it's one of the most fully thought through concepts I have ever seen. Yeah, it's incredible. And I know you're right. He did that translucent look like no one's replicated.
No, not even close. And I know some people took issue. Okay, go ahead.
I snagged Catalina and I snagged the ray gun. I was a little too slow on the draw to get the Murder Hornets as well in 5/8, so I just let that one go. I just love the retro graphic look. I've actually really started to appreciate the neon looks that a lot of the older Clinks had, the older 2.0s. So one of the first Clink hats that I've had on my kind of grail list trying to track down was Neon Ray Gun. So I'm glad to get a version in my hand. And the side patch really matches that same kind of
like aesthetic.
50s.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what mid-century modern kind of look.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I picked up Murder Hornets and Flying Fish. Murder Hornets was one of those ones I remember when it first came out. I'm like, I'm going to pre-order this because I don't know if it's going to get approved. And if it does, I'm going to want that hat. And it's got so many crazy details. I don't know if they're like asleep at the wheel and they let it through, but usually they don't let. Like, it's got brass knuckles, switchblades, knives, freaking Rambo. Like it's got it all. Because we tried to replicate something. I don't know if you're familiar with the Clink Vision stuff that we did. basically we teamed concepts with artists and whatever, and make your own luck.
Sure. Yeah.
With Aaron, the original one had to come back because he put too much stuff in it, and I was like, "Wait,
Sure.
you guys approved Murder Hornets?" Like, so sometimes like you don't know like where the line is, but so happy to see Murder Hornets back because that's one of the most sought after hats, I think. Like, because the original ones, it's colored like Wu-Tang colors, it's black and gold. And just like almost a perfect hat. So see it come back like this is really cool.
It is really a stellar hat, and so, and I'm not 100% sure, but it's a metallic silver thread, isn't it, on the logo?
I don't have it yet because I'm in Canada, but I definitely ordered it. It's on its way, but it's stuck in City of Industry, California somewhere. But I will let you know when I get it 3 weeks from now. But
some pictures it looks just white.
I thought it was white. I thought it was white because when I did the preview with Pierre, he had all 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
from what I remember, it was white, but I could be wrong.
Huh. I don't know. It's really hard to tell with the lighting in some of the photos.
Yeah. That's the thing. Go ahead.
That satin thread, man. Sometimes it looks metallic.
Yeah, that's the thing with Casey now working a little bit behind the scenes, and me submitting some stuff for him. He's like, I can't do all this metallic, and I started to notice. I was like, Casey really doesn't like using metallic threads for whatever reason.
I got that.
But I'm working on it. So for the people that like metallics, I'm pushing hard for them. But definitely a cool 3. I know some people took issue with the Catalina Flying Fish being sky blue. With the Catalina.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. But I know some people took issue with the Catalina Flying Fish undervisor being sky blue and not green. I mean, the original one came in green. I like the color switch. Yeah. If they pretty much repackaged the same hat and didn't change the hat, I feel like that's kind of doing it a disservice. I do like the fact that it's changed a little bit. So,
agreed.
That's that. But definitely a strong trio right here. And then moving forward, we got quick draws. We have a problem. And Sonale Soul. Do you have any initial thoughts here?
So Sonale Soul is the one that I bought just for the side patch on that one.
Oh wow!
So we're in Arkansas now. We bought a house and moved out here 2 years ago in May, and we moved from Phoenix, and we'd been out there for almost all our lives. I bounced around in the military and whatnot, but went to high school in Phoenix area and went to. We were out there for like the last 20 years. So my wife is very big on anything Arizona, State 48, and some of those logos. So I showed her the hat, and she was like, I have it in the maroon, the Taos, New Mexico colorway. She's like, it's kind of cool, but I don't think it's really for me. And then I showed her the side patch. She's like, get that. So that was just an incredible matchup with those two. Just great color choice, great representation, really, really well done. I was a little surprised when I saw the preview of the side patches before the day before they actually did the drop.
The fronts.
With So I thought we have a problem was going to be Moonshot. I was like, I'm going to have my chance to get my hands on Moonshot. And it was only disappointing in the sense that a couple of colorways have hit, recolors have been done for We Have a Problem since. It's the only reason I didn't jump on that one because I already have another one.
Yeah.
But it's a cool side patch, and it's actually a very apt colorway for it because it gives it the impression of watching it on a black and white TV where they're first doing the moon landing. So that was a nice touch. What can you say about the quick draw? That was an incredible design. 40 Swords is one of my favorites. I wasn't even crazy about the initial colorway. I want to say it used to be on Vegas Gold.
Like Vegas Gold
Vegas
Brown.
Gold was on. Yeah.
Vegas Gold Brown, I think, and Pink Under, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, I wasn't really crazy about it. It just it didn't seem to match the theme of the logo very well, but this one fits really well. I like the colors, and I haven't actually looked at the logo on it really closely. If I remember correctly, it's got the Japanese flag on there, but with a pink sun on there, or like a hot pink sun on there. So that was a little weird.
Yeah.
But then it has little bits of like film wrapped around. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like almost like a movie.
Yeah.
It's funny, right? Because I know, like TJ, I know doesn't like pink unders, but he keeps getting hats with them, so it's like kind of funny to me. But I like I picked it up, so I have the original, and I had to grab this one. There's something about it. It's just really, really cool because like he has like a version of his style that's like really cartoony and exaggerated, like Shams or Good Chucks and stuff like that. But like this one is kind of like more realistic. So I just felt like this is so different than what we're kind of used to seeing him do.
Right.
So I had to grab it.
And it's such an incredible pose. He really nailed that. And I don't think that enough people get enough recognition when they pull off these incredible poses. Artistically, that is really hard to do.
Yeah.
And it's a very iconic pose from those old samurai flicks. So kudos, man. That was really well done.
Yeah. And Sonale Soul is almost like the girl version of you, essentially. So that is a collector, Alex Mendoza, goes by Fitted Heads. And that whole hat is dedicated to his daughter, which is awesome. And like I didn't even realize it was him until much more later. When I put two and two together. But yeah, this is Alex's hat. But I believe Aaron worked on the art with him, but just a paying homage to his daughter and the Mexican heritage and great storytelling. And then we have a problem. Like it was birthed during like the crazy glow and dark phase. So there's a whole other hidden message in there, which is freaking awesome. I have the black. I think the original was like black, kind of just black, white, glow and dark. So it's cool to see that kind of repopulate and give people a chance to grab it. I don't love the golden under, but it kind of gives a balance because the top is so almost monochromatic. So
exactly, yeah. And it is one of those great examples of doing glow in the dark to make a difference when it glows, as opposed to just doing glow in the dark just because you can.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of just highlighting white, it's actually purposeful. So I think it's a great pack. I don't know when we'll see something like this again. I know the next couple might be more colorway based and theme based, so we'll see. But to me, this is an excellent drop. They nailed it.
Excellent drop, and it was, man, they really pulled out some of the really older 2.0 Clinks that enough people had their eyes on and were, wow, where did you get that? I've had it, for a couple of years. Before I heard about Clink, so
exactly.
Great.
All right, cool. So let's get into the last call. So all 6 of the next hats we're going to cover. Their pre-orders end at midnight tonight. So this is your last chance to pre-order them before they get into production. So let's see what we got here. We got One Studio and Big Flies, The Land of Giants. One Studio with Trident, and the Necromancer by our good friend Matthew Bell. You have any initial thoughts on these hats?
I I've been a big fan of the Necromancer since I saw him submit it. Did it keep the purple under?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. I ordered. I've been waiting for it to hit the shop, so I pre-ordered as soon as it hit. I didn't really check to see if it kept it. He hit so many points on it, creating movement with the skeletal figure coming from behind, swooping around to the front. Just perfect color choices where they have great contrast without clashing. And that was that was one of the earliest conversations I had with Creature was trying to figure out how to create more contrast. And growing up as an artist, you hear don't pair this with this and don't pair with this with this. We used to worry about clashing, and now it's, hey, let's get more contrast in there.
Yeah.
So really, really great color choices there. Man, he's on a tear.
Yeah.
Really doing really well. I really liked the initial version of Trident. They had to do a couple of adjustments on there, and they did a really, really good a couple of adjustments to the water kind of splashes coming off the sides. I personally preferred it on I want to say it was on a light navy crown when it first came out.
Like a darker color, yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like a little more dark water, kind of fit the theme a little better, but it's still a really strong design. It's one of my, I think it's some of the strongest work that Wynn has done in the last probably year. Really well drawn. Perspective was spot on. I'm a little kind of worried about how well the teeth are going to come out. Just with each one of them outlined.
Yeah.
That's just one of those kind of things that you just kind of learn to cheat on, where you just kind of blob them and let the viewer fill in those outlines on their own. But if it couldn't turn out, Casey would have changed that in production anyway. So I'm sure it'll be fine. Land of Giants, man. Who knew? I am surprised to see two recent Hall of Fame, or now they're calling them the classics. The top sellers for the cohort. You've got the Land of Giants. That's going to be the Hall of Fame there, and then oh shoot, no, I can't remember who did it. Was it Jay Matz that did the forest clearing this was just like a month ago. It was a forest clearing. It was just tree trunks with the really great lighting coming in from the side. I can't remember what it was called now.
I don't even remember now. My mind's a blur.
Yeah. At any rate, I'm surprised with all the crazy stuff that we see Clink do and what they're known for. We have recently 2 landscapes that are the top sellers from their cohorts. It's just wild to me. But they really nailed creating depth using color. It's really impressive.
Are you talking about the Polar Dreamscape by Milos?
No.
No.
No, this was.
You're saying it's Jay Matz.
I thought it was Jay Matz, but now that I say that, I'm not certain that it is. It may have been.
People are probably screaming the answer in the comments.
Probably,
right
yeah. It might have
you
been.
dumbasses. Oh, okay. Force Race, Ryan Simmons.
Yep, it was Ryan. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's got the rays coming through.
Yeah. Very cool piece.
I feel like silhouette landscapes always do well, especially in shapes of animals. I remember 65 Bold. I think you had the mallard one.
That
Arctos. One. There's a bunch of ones that do really well.
Yeah. I've got 65 Bolt. He's another one of my favorites, and he was the first artist that I started collecting all the clinks that were in the Instaship with the snowy owl.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very cool to see those in the silhouettes. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully that Mallard Lake is.
It's got to be coming in soon.
I don't know for certain. I haven't seen anyone post that they've got the shipping notification for it, like some of the other ones in this January shipment. So if it isn't, then we'll see it next month. But
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that one. But this Land of Giants, you were really just staring into the valley there.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah. That's another one that almost looks like it could be built on glass, like layer, 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 layer. Yeah. My only micro qualm with Necromancer, I just wish the visor and the under visor were just swapped.
Yeah.
Just go purple over, green under.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very minor detail. I think it still will come out real cool when it comes out. He could have easily cheated too and made the skeleton dude and his sword glow in the dark.
Yeah.
That made it a little bit too cliche, but all in all, I think that art is really good. And then, yeah, like you said, Trident, good. As well, I do prefer it on the darker crown, and this might be like the kind of what spurned his like latest water trend, I guess. So we ended up seeing, I think he had like a killer whale last week. We might see something.
Yeah, and the week before it was Sink or Swim.
Yeah. So this might have started his trend of water stuff. So we'll see if that continues a little bit later today. But let's go. Zombie, Alamageddon, Dragon Asp Equinox by Milos and Wild West. Oh, so this was the week where Wayne had 3. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
any thoughts here?
Man, I ran to order Milos's the Dragon Asp Equinox.
Yeah.
It just hits so many points. And Milos is just a hell of a guy. I've been fortunate enough to talk to him a few times, just on chat, but he's just a really friendly guy. It's crazy to me, just absolutely insane to me that as a creator, he hasn't been able to receive any of his own hats, just with the customs and the cost of shipping to Serbia. So we're myself and Eric the Saint, we're working on doing something to get him at least one of his own hats. He's just an incredible logo creator. So it's cool that it formed the yin yang. It's cool that it's almost like the Ouroboros snake that eats its own tail.
Yeah.
And I believe it was you that made the point that it easily could have gone sideways if he tried to do too much detail with the dragon's claws, and just blacking out was the right decision to do on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good colors. I really like that one. The Wild West, it's not my favorite, to be honest. And I wasn't really crazy with some of the changes that they had to make when they put it into production. Like the horns had on the initial submission had 2 or 3 colors on it. So it was much more 3-dimensional, and it just seems really flat now. They did remove some of the highlights from the snake's face that were actually a little off place, so that actually fixed that a little. It's just the thing about this particular design that has always kind of struck me as odd is we always know we have a finite amount of space to use, and a lot of us try to use as much space as you possibly can. So especially when you have something that's sinewy or sinuous, that's able to swoop around and really kind of use up some of that horizontal space to make it a really short snake, seemed a really strange decision to me. So that being said, the colors are great on that hat. I love maroon crown, and the maroon and black and the Vegas gold under, great color combo. I love that. And then the last one, the zombie Armageddon. That one, not to toot my own horn, that one was actually all me. I included Creature on that because it was the right thing to do, since we worked together on Alpocalypse, and we had been, although I knew right away what I wanted to do with Alpocalypse, I had several different sketches started off, and one of them, when we were talking about doing a follow-up, and already had the pun Lamageddon going on, one of them was a zombie version of it. So we had already talked about it. So I said, hey, we got to bring him along for it. But I had already done probably 90% of the drawing before I even let him know that I was working on it again. It was just really fun.
Yeah.
At the last minute was when I thought having both ears on there and have them kind of floppy down was just a little too cutesy. I said, well, why is it going to be missing an ear if I take that off? That's why I thought putting the bullet hole on the other side of the cloud, and it blew off the ear. So,
I like it.
Yeah, that was the last touch I put on it, and then we submitted it. So.
It's such a cool thing, and then you really pushing the 6-color limit, and the greens are all similar but different enough to create the texture. I think anyone who doesn't pre-order that is going to make a grave mistake. And hopefully, people seeing the pre-orders land for the original will push them to get it, because this one I think is spaced better. Just how the logo is kind of situated, instead of having it rise up and kind of be narrow, this one fits the hat way better. And I'm with you. Wild West could have used a little bit of that. I feel like there's a little bit of a scaling issue. Just the size of a potential bull skull compared to like a snake. I think he could have. It would have threw off the symmetry of the hat, but maybe even just have it almost like a horizontal view, and just having the snake come out would be kind of cool. Maybe you'd lose the imagery of it, the longhorn, but it art-wise it's cool. I've always questioned the use of the speed marks for stationary objects too.
But
I mean, as an artist,
so,
it's what he does. So I mean, he could draw circles around me. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful. And then Milos, what can I say about Milos? Like, great guy. He set the mark for I think 2.5 hour episodes. So he's welcome back anytime. But yeah, it was cool to see him kind of break out of his shell, because that was the first time I think I ever seen his face, was when he did like the preview. Like the time lapse of it. So that was pretty awesome of him. But yeah, so those 6 hats end in pre-order midnight, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover the hat that I guess by now is released. So we're recording this a little bit earlier than the release schedule, but I actually have an in-hand preview of the hat that will be dropping Saturday night. So the Clink wordmark with beverage. So green under, Clink wordmark. And interestingly enough, I feel like they're kind of going for the licensed hat creator, because this is colored exactly like Los Angeles Dodgers hat. And the other one is colored like a Yankee hat. So any initial thoughts on this?
It's funny enough, it's actually on the side patch, because I was fortunate enough to snag the one that you're wearing, the gray one that was on the shock drop. I didn't see. I haven't looked at it all that close, but I didn't see that on the side patches the Kong face in the cake that's in there. I just saw that now on this color version. I don't know if I just didn't notice, or if it didn't translate well against the red. So I don't know if I'm quite as typical a collector as some of the others. I absolutely refuse to buy a Yankees hat. I absolutely refuse to buy a Dodgers hat.
Okay, so that took you out of the running when I described it as the Dodger hat.
I absolutely will not buy them. And the same, it's just from old rivalries with the teams that I follow. You know, I'm much more of a hockey guy, but I'm also have spent a lot of time watching baseball, and I'm a Sox fan, a White Sox fan. So if it's either of those, clearly those colorways, I won't have them. But
fair enough.
They are cool. It's really nice to see the word mark coming out again.
It's interesting to see them move to a shock drop model, because we've never really, because they're just like a model of consistency. Like, we know, okay, Monday crits for the most part. You know, Friday pre-order, Thursday we'll know which ones, Sunday it's going to end. So for them to move on to this, like, you know, to this, like, you never know when it's dropping thing, it's pretty interesting. So it seems like they're giving priority to the VIPs first, and then to SMS, and then to the email Clink Club members. So I've seen some people say that the actual emails and the texts are delivering late. So just keep an eye out when you can, and try to get the hints where you can. But I think it's a cool pairing. I think all in all, Paco previewed all of them, so I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag. But it's gonna be 3 and 3, so 3 word marks and 3 Kongs.
Cool, very cool.
It can be very hard to get all 6 though. Very hard.
Yeah. I wasn't able to get the last Kong.
That one is colored like a Pirates hat. I don't know if you picked up on that.
No, I actually thought it was a Padres.
No, so it's old gold.
Yeah.
Old gold and black. So this is like an old mustard, the old mustard gold that the Pirates used to wear. Yeah, this might be closer to the Padres, but like the actual like color blocking of the hat is old Pirates.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't look like Pirates to me at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like Pirates to me at all. But when I saw the Dodger and the Yankees, okay, I see what you're doing. So that's very cool. So
I don't have a problem with owning a Pirates hat.
No, fair enough.
No.
All right, so let's get into the crits. So I did remember to number them again. So Phil and Creature coming in at number 1.
I am so glad to see.
How do you even read this?
Huh?
How do you even read this? Incantations.
Incantations.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was actually I was fortunate enough to see the initial sketches on this that Creature was working on before he found Phil to work on it with him, and it had some legs. The idea was there, but it just wasn't cohesing. There really wasn't any sense to why was there the whale in there, and there wasn't any real sense to this wizard hat that was on that had these tentacles coming out from there. So Phil put his spin on it with I don't think anyone can match him in his kind of comic cartoon style. He's just absolutely heads and shoulders above anything that I can do cartoony wise. But he took that wizard hat that was basically just a triangle and turned it into the squid's mantle, and still kept it as the wizard hat. Just incredible. And it's really cool to see some more hats coming where there's natural rivalries going on. You know, the sperm whale and the giant squid fighting.
Yeah.
Very cool hat. Very, very
One of
glad
their
to see
main
that one come up right away.
sources of food, right? The sperm whale.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's funny.
So
this is
that
cool.
that should do really well. I hope so. Sometimes it seems like the voters don't quite get Phil. You know, which is a shame because, like I said, he's just one of a kind.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, very, very
yeah.
cool.
You're just so confused at first, and then you're kind of breaking it down. You know, is it in the water? Is it in the air? Like the ink blots make kind of looks like clouds. Like it's so cool, and there's so many little parts of personality. I think that's one of like Phil's skills, I guess, is just adding so much personality to his characters. I like this one a lot. I hope to see it do well. But great job, fellas. Number 2, Crusader, Matt Bell.
Again, Matt is just on a tear. Man, he's doing just some really incredible work, and I think this is the second or third he's been doing a line of role-playing characters, like D&D characters. So the Necromancer, and he's done a Druid and a Monk. So this would actually be the fourth from there, the second to actually hit crits. And I think there's only a couple of things that I could really critique on there. I think he did an incredible job with the smaller rounded helmet, really making his shoulders and the armor really seem to bulk up, and he's kind of defended. Great job on the lighting and the shine on there. The only thing that I kind of missed opportunity that I saw was the kind of ethereal flame or the magic effect that he has coming off the hand. It's almost like everything happening is in the center of the design. There isn't much happening once you get to the outline. So we could have some of that effect coming off, like maybe just the shoulders or the shoulders and the head. That would just kind of help to continue the theme along. And the I can't tell if it's an orb or it almost looks like a moon that he's holding in his palm. So I couldn't quite tell what that is. It doesn't really matter. It's just cool. It could have just been a way to shade it and help to break up where the thumb is coming over. It's a cool hand pose for casting the spell as well. So just a couple little tweaks, and I think this would be next level. But it's great color choices on it. That gray brim and that light blue, kind of the blue tint or clear mint, whatever it's called.
It's almost like a Tiffany
really
blue.
well.
It's like a great shoe hook too, because like Air Max 95s is kind of in this kind of colorway, and sneakerheads can't get enough of that. I almost feel like there's like a scaling issue. I would almost rather him bring the arm back a little bit more. That way, that flame can start the outline rather than just he has like the ball here and then it's outlined. But if you bring it back a little bit, and you can kind of play maybe with the flame above the head, expand the head a tiny bit, maybe even put a logo on the shoulder, maybe add like a Clink pencil, maybe cross pencils, or some type of maybe a C or a silhouette of a Kong would be kind of cool, just to give it some type of branding. But I think like the foundation's there for a really, really cool hat. I like it.
Agreed. That's it's interesting. You mentioned adding the C or the CR or the little Kong. Those are some of those details that myself and a lot of the other artists don't really think of to tie in and strengthen the overall brand, but they're easy plus ones. It's It's almost like it's almost low hanging fruit. It's there. It's ready for you. It's just
Yeah.
You like just don't think to reach out and add that one extra thing. You've already thought out all the stuff you can think to add on. But I was privy to see it's a preview of some other work Gemini is doing on its own, and we're going to see some of those the little CR for the branding used in a really neat way here pretty soon.
Cool. Yeah. Great job, Matt. I think he nailed it, but there's a couple small things here and there that he could possibly do. I mean, this might just get through as is too. So
easily could, yeah.
Great work. Let's see what else came through. Number 3, Creature's back. Extinction Inc. and Creature.
That's his wife, yeah.
Oh, that's his wife. Okay.
Yeah. She owns a tattoo shop, and I've just odd that I've seen a lot of these in the background or behind the scenes. So she was struggling to get the digitizing down, getting it into from sketch format into using Photoshop or AI or whichever one she's using, and getting them onto the template. So I helped them out a little bit on some of the other ones. But as soon as I saw this version of it submitted, I knew this one was going to be hitting crits almost immediately. Absolutely fantastic work. The first version that she had submitted was way too busy. Those really nice separated rays going around the outside were smaller drops, and there were dots in them, and then there was other tiny dots all the way around. I mean, it was just way too much that for embroidery. So she did exactly what she needed to do to tie it all in and to simplify it. It was beautifully done. And if any new designers are out there looking at it, this is exactly what you want to do when you want to give really curly, wavy hair. That's how you do that. Perfectly done. The only kind of question that I have, obviously it's going to have to be resized because it's really, really tall.
Yeah.
But
it's almost into the eyelets.
Yeah. But there's still a little bit of room down on the bottom for them to drop it a little bit as well. So I don't think it'll have to be shrunk too much where you're going to lose some of the detail. But the only kind of question that we had initially was the black bar across her eyes. And that was to tie in the blinded by the light. We said, well, why didn't you just like put a bandana on her or bind her eyes?
Yeah.
And she felt it looked too much like Lady Justice. So it's a more modern take on it with a censorship bar across her eyes.
Interesting.
Beautifully done.
It's interesting. Yeah, you mentioned that she's a tattoo artist. You could see that some of that skill seeps through with the crazy color saturation. There's no parts where it's like faded. Like the color's just packed in there, so you can see that kind of seep through. And she's achieved it a lot without a lot of it not being bold black outline too. So there's a lot of cool color play in this one. The purple is just really different too. Purple, it looks like sparkling grape, maybe. Black gray under, just a solid hat. Black eyelets. Normally you don't see off-colored eyelets in the Clink Room either. Almost never, right?
You see them submitted here and there. I don't know that the Clink Room ever actually does that though.
Yeah. There's one with the frog. I remember the artist wanted only one eyelet to be colored, but they had to do them all, unfortunately. But yeah, other than that, I don't remember too many hats having non-tonal eyelets.
Yeah.
So definitely an interesting piece.
Yeah.
Definitely a conversation starter too. If you're wearing this, someone's gonna stop you like, where the hell did you get that?
Yeah. And those are some of my favorites. Sometimes they're just completely off the wall. But that's kind of the idea. I've handed out more business cards for to get people to go to the Clink website just wearing out some of the crazy hats
Of course.
than I ever did wearing shirts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're wearing this. No one in the room has this unless it's a creature and the lady together doing a couple photo. But like, yeah, for the most part, yeah, you get a hat like this. I can almost guarantee you, no one has anything similar. But yeah, they did a great job.
Very
so 2 out of
excited to see
3.
that.
2 out of 3. Good for Donnie.
Yeah.
Josh back with another version of the lamb chops. I think his original version. I want to say he was holding a different weapon. Maybe an axe or a cleaver.
It was a big old meat cleaver.
Yeah.
And it was really bloody. The whole thing was really bloody. So yeah, I can see why it wasn't able to come up before. It was just that the whole too much gore thing for New Era, but this is cool. And I think that the neatest little touch on this one is the stitching on the leather apron on the front. He's got the kind of little piece together, stitched together.
Mm-hmm. I love
Pretty
the tag. The tag on the ear.
The little ear tag, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a toe tag for humans, right? But
yeah, it's essentially the same idea. It's an identification tag when they're out in the herd or the flock. Great piece. A lot of attitude on the face. Good shine details on the chainsaw. I was really hoping that the Milos and Creature's chainsaw fish was going to do a little better than it did, but it makes me wonder if they had the teeth, because they'd had them so extended and so large.
Yeah,
it didn't get that kind of disappearing effect going under like this one does. I wonder if it would have done a little better if they disappeared like that. So that was a great touch on this one.
Yeah, and if this one makes it through, I really hope they pack this with metallic silver, just at least for the blade part. It would just add so much to it, and it looks like he has metallic red as the outside too. But yeah, it's interesting to see, like you said, just people who just keep bringing back concepts and not giving up. So I hadn't seen his lamb chops one. Got to be at least a year and a half at least.
Yeah.
And back for seconds. Bo Peep's trying to come chop you up. Great job, Josh.
Yeah.
Number 5. What do we got here? Rorschach. Entire world. Austin's back.
Great to see you back. Yeah.
Yeah, these are those like ink splatters that the psychiatrists give you. And,
the ink blot test.
Yeah,
Rorschach test. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is
nice,
awesome.
Nice pun. Yeah. I really like it's symmetrical, but it's still random seeming with the blotch, just like the test should be. So that was really well executed. I think there may have been a little opportunity to make the ink blot actually make a shape. Most of the time when someone looks at those ink blot tests, they inevitably say it looks kind of like a butterfly. So you could have worked in a moth wing or a butterfly wing in the background.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Or in the ink blot. But
yeah,
that's just a personal observation. I think it's executed exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm. You were speaking about negative space a little bit earlier. Would you have opted to do just negative space on instead of the white, and just kind of went with something to make it a little less obvious what it is?
In this instance, I would actually say no.
Okay.
The trick with the negative space, and I'm still tooling with that and trying to perfect it. The trick with it is getting in the smaller details, because when they're embroidering these larger patches, when you try and have little notches, the little hash marks there, where the threads are folding over, those kind of bump up against each other, so you lose a lot of those little marks on the final product. Unfortunately, if you look at the final product on Wynn's Lady Macbeth, I think it suffered from that a bit, because there were a lot of thin black lines and then a lot of big white patches, and they kind of bumped up against each other. It just kind of became a mess there. So it's really hard to find that balance of how big do you have to make this in anticipation of the thread itself closing in on itself. So I think in this instance, it was the right choice to do white instead of doing a negative space on it. So,
I do like your idea though, hiding a butterfly in there in case, making it kind of more open to interpretation, because like that's what it's all about, right? Like seeing what people see in it first, and
exactly,
kind of judging their character on that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
maybe hide like a negative space skull too. Just give it another thing, and for sure push it through. But
like, when you throw a skull in there, it's gonna go through.
Yeah, exactly. But he nailed it right here, I think. Great job, Austin. Western Spirits by Clinker Magnus.
I saw this one in the submissions. This is a really neat piece. If I'm not mistaken, that's an owl skull. I think he said that it's a great horned owl skull, which I would have picked up that it was an owl skull with the big eye sockets on there, but how the hell do you tell what kind of owl it is? Very cool choice of the feathers, the coloring that's on this. So it's realistic. The skull's realistic, but the feathers aren't. It's kind of a counterpoint to it. I really like this piece. I really hope this one goes through. I'll be picking this one up. I'm personally, I don't usually try to have a darker under than the brim, but that's just a personal thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The only thing that I saw on this, the first time I looked at it, that I would say you want to make a change to, I don't get the star shines around the outside. They don't really seem to have any place to it. I don't think they detract from the design, but they don't really add anything either. And then the border itself is really thin. I would at least double that up. But other than that, it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, the stroke around the skull isn't even like solid at the top. It's almost like it's like stitched in. That's an interesting way to do it. And then the outline around the feathers is way too thin. But other than that, the art looks amazing. I would have at least asked him what it would look like if he makes the feathers look a little bit more random as opposed to kind of symmetrical. Maybe increase the size of the feathers so that way you don't need as many of them. But it's still a really cool looking thing because blue and orange is contrasting colors on the wheel, right? On the color wheel. So it makes for something that really pops off. But just not having like a really beefy outline kind of hurts it. So either you do no outline or a little bit of a bigger one, I think. But either way,
agreed.
You did a great job. All right, let's take a look at number 7, Garden Gnome by R.E. Clifton. I wonder if he looks like this at all, or if this is someone he knows. But it's a cool hat. It's almost like a dark charcoal with this kind of like sea mossy green. But what are your thoughts here?
I saw this one before too. It's a funny piece, you know. Have you? This might just be a regional thing. Have you ever been to any lawnmower races or lawnmower?
No, I've seen I've seen them online. I've also seen them do the race with the forklifts down the hill backwards. So like I know that there's like a lot of stuff around this stuff. So yeah, like this looks pretty badass.
Yeah, it's pretty badass seeing a lawnmower, really souped up. I think this is, it's funny, it's dynamic, and I think it's gonna hit a lot of new homeowner type dads. The super lawn care. Hank Hill kind of guys having to have the perfect lawn. I think that's going to hit that market pretty well. I want to say the perspective on the wheels is a little off on the far right. The outside wheel, the outside front wheel, is a little off. But from how I'm seeing the front left, it could be starting to turn as well. So it just might be how I'm seeing it on the smaller screen. Man, it's a crazy design.
I think his issue is with the design here that like if you didn't see the outline, you would assume he's just stopped and stationary, just kind of posing. But then like the speed lines is trying to speed it up, but it doesn't look like it's moving anywhere. I think that's the issue. So I think you just got to pick. Do you want the gnome to be speeding? And if so, maybe he's got to get his beard a little flowy. The hat's already kind of could go that way, but that's the issue is like you're kind of stuck. Is you coming or going? So I like the theme. I like the concept. I like the art, but I think that's the only thing he's got to like decide.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. You maybe even change the name, gardening gnome. I don't know, but this is awesome. I like it. It's fun. Quirky, got a lot of personality.
It's a clean cat.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it's there's a question that we ask on the Monday Evening Crits show is can you find this anywhere else? Is this something you're only going to find on Clink, or can you find it anywhere else?
You're not cannot find this
anywhere.
Nah.
This is great.
No. Yeah. Would you add another arm? Maybe give him the peace sign or work it in somehow?
I probably would, but I think that is a judgment call. If you think back to my To the Moon design, I didn't have. I had another hand, but you couldn't see the arm or anything, and they kind of changed that in the final design. I wasn't crazy about that change. It seemed kind of stuffed in there, but in this case, it would be on the outside, and there seems to be kind of just empty space there.
Yeah.
So he's got the room. I don't see why not.
Yeah. Even if it's like a shadow, just to show that it's there.
Yeah.
But I like this a lot. You did a great job. All right. Number 8, Clinker Rory with Foxy.
This
kind of forms an F, right? Kind of.
Yeah. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but yeah. Sure does. This was submitted a really long time ago. I remember seeing this, I want to say, at least 4 or 5 months ago. Very, very interesting design. Great shadow work, especially right under the chin, coming down. Just trying to see. I guess there's only a couple little things that are questionable, like the little kind of tuft coming off the outline on the nose. That seems completely out of place.
Yeah.
So I'd take that off, but the rest of it, I can't really see anything to really adjust. And it is a little narrow and it's a little vertical, but if they were intentionally going for the letter form to have the F in there, that kind of shoehorns you into place. It's a cool, kind of autumn piece. I like it.
Yeah, I like how it's kind of like abstract and illustrative, and it's kind of flowy, and they make good use of the negative space outline. I don't know if I love the green eye, but other than that, like, it's different enough. I haven't seen nothing like this.
It
The
is a
color
little
plays
weird
nice.
to have just that tiny touch of that color green, and it isn't anywhere else.
Yeah.
So maybe you could have a couple of leaves or something as a background, some other foliage to use that same color, but that is kind of a small concern.
Yeah. But other than that, it's pretty cool. I think it fits like the Clink mantra, and yeah, this is cool. Rory, haven't seen them around for a while.
I don't recall seeing them submit anything after this, and this, like I said, this one was a while ago.
Mm-hmm. They dug deep for it. All right, number 8. So number 9, kind of buried the lead here, but Win Studios is back with some more splash stuff. So skull and a shark this time. What are your thoughts?
It's an interesting piece. The concept is there. This is actually the third version that I've seen of this one. Just seeing the different submissions, and without sugarcoating it too much, there's some execution issues here that have been present in each iteration. So right off the bat, it seemed like he was trying to do kind of a negative space skull right after I'd done the shape between. So not that there's any issue trying to do the same kind of general idea. That's how we get other ideas sometimes. But trying to do a negative space skull and then having the waves crash forward is just aesthetically, it's moving the wrong direction for where the skull would be going back. So it hits the eye really weird there. These waves are better done than the other ones were, but they're still kind of going the wrong way. The shark is the part that kind of gets me every time. So each time he's had it going through the eye sockets, and he's almost there, but it still looks like he's drawing a whole shark, then using the lasso tool to separate the two halves and then just moving them without accounting for the space that would be naturally hidden by the waves.
The bend.
Yeah. And now we've got the head is coming up at this angle, but the tail is going up here, so it's
more up. Yeah.
So we've still got some execution issues here.
It's almost like it's two different sharks.
Yeah,
and that's cool if that's the case, but he drew it as if it's one. So there's definitely some anatomy issues. Like the front lower fin is way larger than the dorsal fin, and there's a lot to it. The waves don't almost look finished at the top too. It's almost like there's almost way too much detail at the bottom, and then the top kind of loses it a little bit. Like, I'm with you, the concept's there, but the anatomy issues make me not like the hat.
And just to acknowledge it, and to be fair to Win, like I said, this is at least the third time that I've seen this. So he hasn't, as far as I can tell, he hasn't done a whole lot of changes to the lower path. And when you, just as an artist, when you keep hitting this thing, keep hitting it, at some point, just like, the hell with it, and you just slap it together. And unfortunately, that's when we should, as an artist, be saying, don't submit it, because now it's just slapdash. But sometimes we all do it. Just throw it out there just to be done with it.
And then if he gets picked for crits or he gets picked, it's not his fault. Like, I mean, ultimately that's everyone's like goal or whatever. But like sometimes,
you want to really, like, if you're going to get picked at this kind of rate, like, you kind of want to make sure that it's perfect so that when people do see it, we have nothing to critique you for.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the workload is crazy. I mean, he's putting out work and he's doing a great job and whatever, but like the times that you do not necessarily like hit the mark, you know, you don't want to have people be able to say or, you know, put you down for anything.
Yeah.
Like as a concept, it's a cool concept, but it's just not like really finished, you know.
It ain't there. That's for sure.
So
yeah. I mean,
so I just wish I just saw this like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
with a couple more things. And I don't know what he would have been able to do with it. Nah, the anatomy for sure. And then maybe even the skull, just work it in better. But you're right though, like the waves are pushing forward, but then the shark's moving to the side, and I don't love the drops. I feel like they're completely unnecessary, but
right.
you know, I wish them all the best. I've finally been unblocked, so at least I can see the work and
I haven't
read
looked
the
to see if I've
descriptions.
been unblocked. I just, you know, we happened to catch it for the Monday evening show, and that's just how I've seen the other ones come through.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you know, we could spend more time saying do this, but you know, this is just kind of one of those ideas that I don't know that it's ever going to cohese. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree that the concept, the idea is there. Just I don't know if he's going to be able to execute it.
Yeah. I know, and I hope he gets it. Number 10, the Watchers. So Sierra has a long line of I guess sub categories now. So he's got the mezzo stuff, he's got the retros 90s stuff, and now he's kind of building out this like alien theme. So he did one with a bunch of like DNA strands. I remember. I don't remember what it was called, but it was kind of like with the pyramids, with the electrical lines, and I feel like there's a little bit of DNA, maybe not DNA, but like he kind of had like different
the little tech lines,
yeah.
So the Aztec with COD,
yes, so that kind of harkens back to that a little bit, but he's got this crazy looking alien now. He's holding the world watching. What are your initial thoughts?
So this is another one that he submitted. They're kind of reaching back for a couple of these. This one's he's put in a couple of times. I really like, the light work that he did on the eye ridges. They don't really have eyebrows, so for lack of a better term, those ridges there. That's kind of a neat play with the light. I think just personally, the green outline that he has over the skull and at the bottom, you have such thick, bold lines in the DNA strands on the outside. I'd make those borders the same thickness, just to continue the chain going around. But those fingertips are almost like suction cuppy.
I almost don't like the hands at all. The world is cool.
Yeah,
like, he's got a good grip to it. I almost wish maybe you just play more with the shadows. Maybe that you could just. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really see a whole lot of shadows going on the Earth itself. So he did a lot of cool light. Now that you say that, he did a lot of cool light work on the alien itself, but nowhere else. And that's one of those things that you kind of get handcuffed with the 6 colors. When you want to go and pick one of these crazy like cyber green colors to do a fun thing, like, oh hell, I just lost one somewhere. So I'm not crazy about the thumbs, but the rest of the hands, maybe pull them back just a little bit. So he's framing it more instead of like a little. He's done a great job of making it really ominous. Like it's not a good thing that this alien is watching over us.
No, definitely not.
So that was executed really well, but I maybe just get rid of the thumbs. I think is the only thing that kind of strikes me.
I don't love the DNA strands either.
No,
I don't. I feel like he could use something to hold it all together. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what it would be, but
I guess you do have to kind of ask, what does the DNA strand have anything to do with with the overall design anyway?
yeah.
So that's a good point.
Unless he gives you like a conspiracy theory type answer, or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like aliens created us from their DNA or something,
Yeah.
and then you get into a really awkward conversation. But yeah, the concept's cool. It reminds me a little bit of the Blood Moon thing that you did with the bat kind of holding the moon with the blood and stuff.
Yeah, this was way before that. Yeah.
I just don't
now you
love
say
the
that, I kind of see that. Yeah.
I just don't love the hands. I think the art is awesome and the concept's cool, but maybe I just would have did the hands a little bit different. I mean, I wouldn't be able to draw them any better than he did, but just
Right.
It's cool though. It's really ominous, and evil, and
I think this is one of those that is really cool until you think too much about it, and then it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, sometimes I think we just need to just appreciate a cool design for being a cool design and just let it go at that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
But now that you brought it up, I keep on looking at these DNA strands. Like, why are they there?
Yeah.
So I would say, bolden the top and the bottom outline. Those are the two things that really stand out the most to me are those and the thumbs.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about like stuff having like super bold black outlines in certain spots and then no outlines in others? Like, so like the DNA has nothing and the Earth has nothing.
Yeah.
Like, do you almost feel like they're almost like the elements are so far apart that it makes it look different, or because that Earth wouldn't work with huge bold black outlines.
It wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I almost feel like I'm kind of the wrong guy to answer that because I avoid black.
Yeah, you avoid black. Yeah. Like, could his alien work without black?
Yes, it could, because he's doing that green outline on the outside of it. I don't mind double outlines. I that doesn't do anything for me, but I don't mind them either. I
almost feel like taking out the black would change the look of the alien completely. Now that I'm not seeing, I'm just trying to visualize it without the black. Like now his mouth and the whole thing is just there, as opposed to his face being covered by his fingers. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. Yeah, but if you take out, I mean, he still has to have the black for the eyes.
He needs it. Yeah.
So it's not like taking that out would then free up another color because he's still got to have that black. So
no, it wouldn't be to free up the color. It'd be to, I guess, open up the design, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah. I think it would actually benefit from taking that out of the overall outline, and it can still, use the black for the detail work in the eyes. But again, it comes back to more of a personal style issue. Sierra does it sometimes, and I know Wynn does it sometimes with want to say it was Ryan Simmons was doing it for a little while, where they are putting in foliage or just stuff in the background just to have it there, but it's a flat, bold solo color, and to me it strikes the eye off when everything else is so well shaded. So in this instance, because it's such a bright, crazy ass color, I think it still works without having to worry about the black there. But when it's like foliage or ferns or those really actually do bother me. But that's a personal style issue. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, yes, I think you can take the black off of the head and around the outline of the hands, and that'll help free up some space to thicken up the green without having to make it taller. But it's creepy. It's creepy and cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, it's real cool. All right. Well, you've been super generous with your time. We've gone 2 hours. Hopefully Donnie won't miss too much of the Dolphin game. I don't even know if they're playing on Sunday, but either way.
I thought they were playing Saturday.
So he'll be free to watch.
That's all I know. I haven't followed football very much lately, but the area in Arkansas we moved to is 10 minutes from the Missouri border, so everything around here is Chiefs. So,
okay, fair enough. Yeah, Chiefs play Saturday, right?
Yeah.
They're saying that's going to be one of the coldest games. They're playing Miami.
Yeah.
Aren't they? So y'all playing each other. Okay.
Yeah. So,
all right.
They've already lost going into cold weather. It's not happening.
But all right. Any closing thoughts before we go? Where can people find you? Where can they watch your show?
Everything I have on my Linktree, Linktree/Seamus the Skunk, or just on Instagram at Seamus the Skunk, and I'm predominantly homebound, so I'm almost always available. So you guys are always welcome to reach out, and I don't think I've ever left anybody on perma ignore ever. So
Okay.
Always happy to chat. Thanks for having me on. I've been hoping to. It's kind of one of those milestone things as I've kind of developed my own name. So thanks for bringing me on.
Nah, you've been awesome. And just to kind of see your progression as an artist from getting your first shot with the Yolama, and then kind of seeing just hit after hit after hit. So you've been on my hit list to get on this for a long time. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
And welcome back anytime.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. So for Michael and Leon, we're out of here. Peace.
Like the Flintstones, the cartoons getting away. There's a lot of firepower and weight. I've been sitting away. You feel life slipping away. Fear is gripping your face. I'm still hitting you at a pace. You feeling like you sipping bidet. Let me keep it.
Brought to you by VFTV.